What is going on today, guys? My name's Alex. Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a special review here. Right behind me we have a brand new 2022 Ram Rebel. Beautiful truck, and obviously we have my 2022 Ram 2500 Power Wagon right beside it. Two beautiful trucks right here, and we're going to dive into what makes this Rebel so special in comparison to the Power Wagon. So I've been wanting to do this review for a little bit here. I think these trucks are very comparable. If you just look at them, they kind of look the same. The Rebel's almost kind of like the baby brother to the Power Wagon. And so I thought it'd be a really cool review just to talk about the off-road componentry, as well as some of the mechanical stuff, the engine, the driveline, and all that good stuff. Now, I'm not going to focus too much on the interior or the aesthetic options on these trucks. To be honest, I just don't find that stuff too interesting. And for the most part, the interiors are pretty much the same on these two trucks. They're both 5th gen Rams, and the interiors are kind of the same. So to start off this little comparison here, I thought we'd talk about the price. Now, I'm sure many of you guys think the Power Wagon is quite a bit more expensive than the Rebel, and in many cases that is the truth. However, I think some of you guys are going to be shocked on the base price of these trucks, at least in Canada. So the base price for the Rebel is $66,500, give or take. And then the base price for the Power Wagon is $69,500 at the time of shooting this. Only a couple thousand more dollars and you can have a base Power Wagon. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is on the Power Wagon, the base model comes with all the off-road componentry except for the rim bead lockers. You have to get the Power Wagon level 3 performance package, I believe, to get that. But the base model will come with every single off-road feature, which is pretty cool. As much as some people think the Power Wagon is much more expensive, the price of 1500s has risen quite a bit. The two trucks are somewhat comparable with price. Most of the time the Power Wagon will be more expensive just because it is a bigger truck. It's a 2500, which tends to just be a little more expensive. So just keep that in mind. The Power Wagon is not necessarily outrageously overpriced in comparison to the Rebel. All right, let's get into the good stuff. This 2022 Ram Rebel has the 5.7 Hemi, beautiful engine, good strong engine. So this Hemi is the same Hemi that's in the 4th gen trucks. You're gonna get 395 horsepower, 410 foot-pounds of torque, plenty of power. These things are pretty quick. With the Rebel, you get the 392 gears in the back, standard, making this truck pretty darn quick, I have to say. My old Ram 1500, I had 321s in the back, and even with those, the truck was pretty quick. So this engine, coupled with this driveline, makes this truck pretty darn quick and pretty capable when towing. These Ram 1500s, when outfitted with the proper gearing, can tow up to 12,000 pounds, so this Hemi is very capable. Now, in the Power Wagon, we have the bigger Hemi. We have the 6.4 Hemi in it. That's putting out 410 horsepower and just about 430 foot-pounds of torque, so plenty of power. This Power Wagon can only tow 10,500 pounds. However, this exact same driveline in a normal Ram 2500 can tow up to 17,000 pounds. So the Hemi has tons of power in this truck. The only reason why it can't tow that much weight is because the suspension setup, which we'll get into in a second here. In terms of fuel economy, this truck runs a combined 14 liters per 100 kilometers, which is pretty efficient for a V8 that has 400 horsepower. This Power Wagon is not very fuel efficient. I'm running normally right around 18 to 20 liters per 100 kilometers, and that is sadly mostly country road driving. Despite this engine not even being an extra liter of displacement, it likes to drink fuel, as well as a couple other things. Obviously the gearing is taller in this truck. We got 410 gears versus 392s, and this truck is taller, the aerodynamics are much less, and it is 2,000 pounds heavier. So quite a lot of difference when it comes to fuel economy between the two engines. So if you are looking to have a fuel efficient truck or somewhat fuel efficient truck, the Rebel is probably a good option for you. So you guys know the price of these trucks, you know what engine's in here. Let's start talking about the fun stuff, the off-road capability of these two trucks. And we're gonna start at the rear. So at the back of this Ram Rebel, we have a locking diff. This is just over a 9-inch differential in here, and it has the electronic locker, which is phenomenal because the last generation of Rebel only had a limited slip diff, which in my opinion was just not good enough. So you will get a locking diff in the rear of this Rebel, which is awesome. Now turning over to this beautiful Power Wagon, under this beast you have an 11.5 inch differential with, again, an electric locking diff, making it a full locking differential. But what is phenomenal about this differential, and I love it, is that when the differential is not locked, it is helical style limited slip. So it's a limited slip diff in all operations, and then you can lock it up, which is just magnificent. I love that idea. Now moving up the drive line, this transfer case is a BW 4445, making it a true mechanical locking transfer case. A big plus. I've talked about this at length with my old Ram 1500. It had the BW 4444 transfer case, which was a clutch pack transfer case, which is just not as good off-road. It cannot truly fully lock, whereas this transfer case in this truck is a mechanically locking transfer case, which is a good thing when you're off-road. The Power Wagon, it has a true mechanical locking transfer case as well. It is the BW 4447, just a beefier unit in general because, well, the truck is beefier, heavier, driveline's bigger. Now, where the Power Wagon really shines is it has a front locking differential, and the Rebel does not. Now, I'm not too sure about this, guys. Maybe someone can tell me in the comments. My friend, he has a Ram Rebel, and I'm pretty sure he has the ability to lock the front and rear. I could be completely wrong, but I just couldn't get a straight answer when I was looking online. So please let me know. If you can get a Rebel with a front locking diff, let me know, because I just couldn't find the right answer. Anyways, this truck does not have a front locking differential, and the Power Wagon does. So that is a big difference. However, just having a rear locking diff will improve the off-road capability of this Rebel dramatically. One locker, in most situations, all you need. Now, moving up from the transfer case, we have the 8-speed ZF transmission on this Ram Rebel. Great transmission. I really enjoyed it in my Ram 1500, and I'm really enjoying it in my Ram 2500 because this Power Wagon has the exact same 8-speed ZF transmission in it. One of the many things these two trucks shares is the transmission, and from what I've heard, not very many people have problems, and I think Chrysler really enjoys them, and they're probably going to keep stuffing these 8-speeds in these Rams for a little bit. So in terms of suspension, this Ram Rebel is different than all the other 1500s. It has a factory 1-inch lift to help give you some ground clearance, and in fact this Rebel has a better ground clearance than any other 1500 at 9.1 inches. The other cool thing is that these Rebel rims are actually specific to the Ram Rebel. They have a 1/2 inch of offset, making this stance a little bit wider and making the truck feel just a little bit more aggressive, which is pretty cool, I think. And then the newer Rebels, they all come with the Wrangler duratracs. Great tire, all terrain, great in the snow up here in Canada, and they are super grippy when it comes to mud, rock. Obviously a full-on mud tire would be better, but for most people these tires will be more than enough. And just like the Power Wagon, this has Bilstein shocks all the way around, off-road tune, to just make this thing a really good ride when you are indeed off-road. So with that off-road suspension setup, it's going to give this Ram Rebel a much better approach angle, 23 degrees, and then the departure angle is 27, making this thing pretty capable for the trails. Now, the suspension setup in comparison to the Power Wagon is not as aggressive. The Power Wagon comes with a 2-inch factory lift, as well as just being taller in general, sitting on that 2500 frame. It does come, like I said, with Bilstein shocks all the way around, off-road tuned. However, the approach angle on this truck, just because it's so much taller, instead of 23 degrees, is actually 33 degrees. And the departure angle is just about the same. I believe it's 26 degrees versus 27 with the Rebel. I think that's because, as you guys can hopefully see, this truck is just longer. Like, the wheelbase is longer and the actual body is longer. probably making the departure angle not as good. The other thing that helps the approach angle on this truck is this bumper here. If my shadow would get out of the way. This bumper is custom to the Ram Rebel. No other 1500 has it, and that is going to help with the approach angles. You're not going to scrape. Then, like the Power Wagon, this Rebel does have some skid plates on it to protect your internals when you are on the trails. Never a bad thing. Let's see if I can get up on here and show you guys. Ugh. So like the Power Wagon, yep, you have your gas tank skid plate here. You have your transfer case skid plate right there. And to be honest, they don't look as beefy as the Power Wagon skid plates, which I'll show you in a second here. So we are under the Power Wagon now, and you can see these skid plates just look a little bit more beefy, and they got some tubular skid plates that aren't actually on the Rebel. However, this is a 2500, so you would expect things to be more heavy duty, which they are. So with all those off-road goodies and that powerful V8, that's what makes this Ram Rebel so good off-road. I believe in the 4th gen model, the Ram Rebel was only supposed to be an appearance package, and then in the 5th gen, they've really kind of buckled down and tried to make this a standalone trim package, making it much more off-road capable with that locker, and really trying to sell to the off-road enthusiast with this truck, and I think they've done a good job. Now, in terms of the Power Wagon, yes, the Power Wagon is going to be much more capable off-road. It's got the front locker, it's got the winch, it's got the sway bar disconnect, which just does not either. It's taller, the ground clearance is better, but there's pros and cons because this truck, the fuel efficiency is much better. Bombing around town, you're going to have a more comfortable ride. It's not as tall, it's not as long, it's going to be easier to park, it's going to be easier to drive around town. Whereas this big girl is a little bit more clunky, the ride is a little stiffer. It's probably going to cost you more, both at the pumps and at the dealer. It's just a little bit more of a hassle when compared to this. So it all depends on what you need the truck for. When it comes to price, like I said, you're probably going to pay more for the Power Wagon, but it's a little bit closer than you think. So it's really what you need. If you just want a truck that's very off-road capable, yet you want to be able to drive comfortably around the city and not, you know, burn a hole in your wallet paying for fuel, the Rebel is probably the way to go. However, if you want the most capable truck on the market, that is the Power Wagon. All you Ford Tremor guys don't know what you're talking about. I'm just kidding. I like the Ford Tremor, looks good, but to be honest, it's just not as capable as the Power Wagon. You got the front and rear locker, you got your winch, you got the sway bar disconnect. This thing can wade up to 33 inches of water. Your 4-low final drive ratio is incredibly low. 410 gears. It just got so many tricks up its sleeve, and it's very, very capable off-road. So enough of me talking. We're gonna put these trucks in a little bit of a snowy situation. Nothing crazy, but we're gonna get some cool footage seeing these trucks in a little bit of snow and maybe spinning some tires. So that should be fun. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. That brand new Rebel is my father-in-law's truck. He just picked it up. So hopefully there will be a lot more content on the channel involving that truck. I'm pretty excited about that. Obviously I forgot to do an outro, and here we are. But as always, if you like the video, don't forget to leave that thumbs up. And if you like cool stuff like this, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. If you guys want to support the channel, I'll drop a link down below. But as always, we'll see you in the next freaking video.